what, maybe two weeks or so since we did this last live stream. It was with Trevor King, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
Yeah,
did that. Was that right before Bitcoin Vegas, or
right
was it the
before.
week before that?
Yeah, it was a few days before
Was
Bitcoin.
it? Wow. So it was only literally like 12 days ago. Feels like literally 2 years.
Well, that's the way it is, man. You get away from your routine, and it's like, Jesus Christ, do I do YouTube videos? What do I do? I'm not. Yeah, it's a weird jumping back in, but here we are, man. We're back.
We are so back. We're here today with Maverick. Probably, I would say maybe top 3, top 5 hustle degen or hustle utilizer. Dude, you have just gone on an absolute tear. I think you have the highest win I've seen so far with an 81x, I believe. Is that the highest hustle win you found so far, Mav?
No, the moon pig was like 100+ X. It was like 100. I think
Dude,
they
you
ended
got
up
in on
going,
Moonpig? No shit.
yeah, Hustle gave it to me at like 1 million market cap or right around there.
Wow.
So that was like probably the best one. And then, James wins all over right now. So it's like that guy was just driving moon pig. And we kind of like the group that I'm in just kind of sat back on that one. I didn't expect it to go to 100 million so fast, but that was probably the best.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's nuts.
So I know you have your own trading group. Do I have that right? Or are you just now forming a trading group because Hustle is just pushing magic out for you?
A little bit of both. Like I've been in the trenches for, well, I started in crypto in 2017. So I've been through, multiple cycles, did really well in like DeFi summer, whatever we call the mania of like 2021, 2022, and like the whole NFT and everything. We did all that. But then like recently, I think it's been like termed like the trenches. It's essentially like on-chain gem hunting. And the trenches, like ever since like Pump Fund came, it does feel like old school crypto. Like, a lot of the newer coins that are like launching that are legit utility tokens, like they don't have the same kind of run that like old school, like from 2017, 2018, you get into an altcoin and just hold it and like goes up crazy.
Yeah.
But you can get that kind of same kind of environment in the trenches, getting an early kind of these fair launches to some degree. And so, yeah, I started playing in that, and like that's been like 2 years recently, like kind of doing that. And then I'd say from like a group perspective, I've been part of other groups, and I've just shared kind of my insights with them. And recently, a couple of buddies of mine were like, we should just like start one. And, I'm like, I don't consider myself an amazing trader, but there are people that do the leverage trading, and usually again, a group, they're looking for that. I said, I'm more focused on chain. So like stick me there. So it's kind of cool how it formed there. You come into our group, it has both. So you might just want to like focus on the trench side and look for where the on-chain meta and what kind of trends are forming. You would have kind of anything I would provide there. But if you're like, hey, I kind of want to get into trading and understand that whole methodology, there's another part of the whole group that will teach you that. So it's kind of cool.
How do you view? I mean, for me, it's like I think, the meme coin cycle we're in. It's almost like I guess some people will call it a solved game where we all kind of see what's happening. There's like these very rarely do you still get like, the random like fair launch where a dude just launches a token. It feels like almost everything is like pre-planned group of guys. They bundle the tokens, they dump on your head. How do you view it? And what strategy do you tend to deploy based on kind of the current market condition?
So what's mixed in with that is there's some good solid plays amongst the shit and the trash. Oh, sorry if I cussed.
Oh, you can cuss. Go
ahead. Okay. So it's got, you're right. Like people are launching these things like crazy every second and bundled. The nice thing is there's like good technology now to like help the user see the bundle, so before it was like, gosh, like I don't know if I'm going to get rugged on this or not. Now it's like, you're going to probably get rugged if you're going to buy it based upon the bundle, the sniper, the large holder count, like whatever. As long as you're kind of looking through that every day to some degree, you'll find the good ones that are launching, and there's some solid stuff that's coming out, projects and stuff that still have that early crypto feel, and it gets lumped in with memes. So I think anything that's like, oh, it was launched on Meteora or Radium or Pump Fund or wherever it was launched, whatever liquidity pool, everyone just calls it. It's like, oh, it's memes. But like the stuff that I'm seeing right now is the launch coin meta, as I term it, but it's the Believe app and a lot of interesting things, whether it's I don't know, I won't like shill tokens here, but like there's some interesting plays that have kind of come through that. Then there's the whole time.fun eco, that is, all these things are kind of termed under the, I would say, the internet capital markets, time capital markets play. And kind of what's kind of getting going in that space is very interesting. So that's kind of mixed in with these launches. You'd find something like that actually probably has potential of a good outcome. And it reminds me a lot of back in September when AI was starting to come into play. And if you remember, like October, November were probably the best times for anything related to AI. Within that, there was a lot of the memes. So it's like, oh, people were holding whatever Murad was like, posting, and people were seeing that people were buying GOAT and they were buying Fartcoin, all these like AI agents that were just being thrown out every single day, AI 16Z, everyone's buying all this stuff. That was one of the best, like, huge trajectory plays. If you caught that meta, if you saw it and you just got into those AI plays and rode that. But you wouldn't see it if you weren't like deep in the trenches. If you kind of stand back and you'll wait for these things to get on a centralized exchange, you'll miss it like early on, where like people were probably getting into some of these, under 10 million market cap, and we're able to hold them to like 5. Like Griffin was a great play, like getting in, holding that thing. People made huge money off it. So I kind of see the same opportunity here is like within the trenches. It's like, I'm not just looking for the silly memes. It's like, oh, this picture of a dog or cat, or, there's all that kind of stuff. But like within that, there's some type of crypto trend that will form, largely driven around speculation. And that's what drives a lot of this stuff. The whole like AI space was like, oh, we didn't know how much this was going to go. And so it really ran. And I kind of think like right now, people probably, there's no true narrative that's like kind of stuck. But once they find it, everything around that is just going to bubble and go. And it's like the last place I feel like is true crypto. If you've been in crypto since 2017 or earlier, when it was easier because there was only like 10 tokens or altcoins. When people call alt season, I think it still happens. It's just like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trenches are diversified now. There's so many ecosystems that you get, Bitcoin ecosystem going off, or it's like AI, right? Or it's like Believe and becomes consolidated. Or if it's like, if time.fun takes off, then it's probably some sort of like utility coin meta, or it's, NFTs on Sui or something like that. And it's really tough to manage all this. And I think this is kind of where Agent Hustle and a handful of other AI products are starting to kind of shine a little bit, where you don't have to essentially, manually sit there and monitor whatever block explorer there is. You can kind of use this tool to kind of get a gauge on where to look. And, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to bring on you, Mav, is you've been using Hustle now for a few months. You post a bit with him every day. You mentioned you've been a trencher since 2017. I also got into space in 2016, Adam as well. I remember paid Telegram trading groups, right? That was when it was like all leverage at the time, when BitMEX was kind of still at its heyday, and Bitfinex and stuff like that. But you've made this transition to the spot markets essentially. And I'm curious how you go about, using Agent Hustle, which I'm gonna pull up here in a second, about, trying to find the next trend. And then once you identify a trend, how do you kind of, use this AI tool as a narrow scope to zone in on, what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like since I've been in the space for so long, once I started playing around with Hustle, I was like, God, this is like, it really was like a aha moment of like, this is like just taking hours off of my day. Like, and I don't have much time. Like most people in crypto aren't full time. So it's like, you know, if I only have like 2 hours to look through something, everyone wants to get in early on a play.
Yep.
You're most likely, it's like the 1% will find like the whiff, the goat, like just happen to be at the computer when it launches. Like you just have to be lucky,
Yep.
right? Majority are going to be buying it much higher, and you're probably at some point, if you're never paying attention, if you're on like x.com, you're just going to be able to find it with people shilling it to you when they're trying to unload their bags.
Yeah.
So like most people are buying this stuff when everyone's like, oh, we're, you know, this is the best thing ever. And you buy it. And then all of a sudden next day it's like down 100%. So when I was looking at it, like the time that I had, it's like, I go through like all the coins and I'm just like, this is like, nothing is really, you know, not only does it have to catch you like visual attention, and you got to think through, is there a utility with this? Is there like, would people buy this? But then you got to look at, Adam, to your point, like, is this thing bundled up like crazy? Is this a scamming coin? And personally, people have their own systems that like will look through that. Like you can change filters on Deck Screener or Axiom or whatever, but you still have to go through that process. When I did Hustle, it was just like, he just did everything. It was like, I was like, hey, find me something that looks like with this, with my filters. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I look at each one and I just kind of take out the ones that look maybe, you know, at first I was like, oh, like, you know, this could be a rug, this could be a rug. And then I kind of just worked with it. So it was like, hey, like next time, don't give me those options when they come up with like high number of snipers and, you know, high bundles. And it's like, okay. And we just narrowed it down. I kept working and working. And now it's like my prompts, I feel really good with them. So I just say, hey, find me this type of play. And I have like plays for everything. So I have like, you know,
Let me ask you a question in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you named him with Hustle so we remembers
Yeah.
a certain way?
I've named them like the Top Gun call signs. So like they literally like Jester, Iceman, Slider, Phoenix, Maverick, Goose, Cougar, like all of them. So like, and they all have different purpose. So like some, if I'm looking for like a long-term play, you know, like something like, we'll say launch coins, as we were talking about earlier, that would come up on some of like my higher tiered ones that have shown like day after day, week after week, steady growth, accumulation, good volume. It's not going to die tomorrow kind of thing. So for me, it's like, oh, if I'm more the investor side and I want to have something that might be more of a trend meta long term, I want to buy that. And it's going to be like 100 million market cap or something high. But I also have ones that are like, if I want to take a risk, like high risk, high reward, like give me something under 100K market cap, and looking for good volume, everything around that. While it's accumulating, I have ones that look like that. I have ones that look for whale accumulation. So like they look like dead projects because they've already pumped and they've came down. But sometimes whales will come over and they'll start bidding it. I call it the Phoenix, but it basically like comes in, they start bidding it, and then they go for like a second pump. And you know, those are kind of all the different. There's like multiple, but like I have like ones for just like variation depending upon the time of day and what I'm looking for, what might be a play. At the end of the day, Hustle does a great job of like putting everything together. I feel like all the plays I get are, I'm like, oh, this is good, this would be good. The hard thing is holding them, you know. So it's like, okay, I'll get in, but now you got to go through the cycle of like a trader, right? So it's like, okay, like Cruise was a great example, right? We'll talk about that one because that one it came up on your guys' stream yesterday, and I laughed because I was like, this is actually pretty funny. Hustle brought it up on mine too, and I was like, this is actually like, it was at like, 200K or something market cap, but you had to sit through like 24 hours of like pure just chop, jump to 400K, go down to 200K. Most of the time people are like, screw it, like this thing looks dead. And then today like runs to like 3 million market cap.
Wow.
So, I think it's the hardest thing. And Hustle, like you can talk to it, which is great. And you guys know this because you're like the creators, but like, I'll be like, Hustle, like this thing looks dead. Like, what do you think, And it'll
Yeah.
be like, actually it's showing like, well, a whale size accumulation or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like maybe I'm just letting my emotions get the best of me. I'm like, it looks like too choppy or whatever, but it kind of like tells me to chill, if I get too euphoric, I might ask it like, this is probably a good time to exit or something. And it'll be like, oh, actually this is it does like amazing trade analysis. So like if you're not a trader, you'd be able to kind of figure out some exit strategies too with it. So, and you can automate it. Like, I mean, you guys know this, but I've automated it where I'm like, I've created a prompt. Like once I buy something, it just runs the prompt and it will basically like at a 3x sell a portion, at this x sell something, keep a moon bag. It sets its limit orders and everything. So I can like basically not monitor it. And like that is a beauty of like not being so emotional within like the space, because I might be like, oh, I've made this much, I need to get out. And then you see this thing run and pump really hard the next day, and then you're like, oh man, I need to get back in, and then it dumps, and then you're just like, you just get tossed around in the trenches, So it's more than just finding stuff. I feel like it's been really good about just keeping you kind of emotionally sound in like the space, which is like helpful.
So what do you think? What do you think about us building this conditional trading system where you can have him find different tokens based off of whatever your parameters are, and then you can essentially set a sell limit and a buy limit, or multiple sell limits and a stop loss essentially, or any type of combination, eventually kind of building to where you can set conditional executions based off of like news triggers or things like, when Trump's speech or when Trump tweets about, I don't know, when Trump tweets about, Doge, then buy Doge or something like that, or of these different types of conditional executions. Is that something, do you think, that could help you be a better trader while using these AI tools?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like I still like there's still something about like being like involved to some degree, right? So I think ideally I'm like, God, it sounds great just to be like, buy me 0.1 soul of everything that comes out with this tweet or whatever, and then we'll figure it out later, right? Because maybe I'll get the one that like runs. But the way I've used Hustle recently, I think you guys were all on that one, was when like the ship like crashed into like was it the Brooklyn Bridge
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And I was like,
Yeah, I
oh
tried to
God.
find a runner for that, and it was difficult. What? Yeah,
The Mexican one?
Yeah,
yeah.
the
So like
Mexican baby or whatever. Yeah,
I did like a prompt with Hustle because I was like, God, like this is too good. Like there's gonna be memes on this, like for sure. And I was like, Hustle, like here's like the tweet, here's the image. Find me all the stuff that's coming out right now with this. And it like gave me like 6 different plays, and 111 was like the one at the top. And I was like, God, this is great. Like I don't have to like sit through and like go through everything. Now, granted, like 111 just went to like maybe 300K market cap. It identified it at like 30K, so it was still like a 10x play. But I like thought this thing would have went way higher. But it was on the weekend. No one was really paying attention, so I was kind of bummed. I think I wanted more out of that because I thought it was so funny. But sometimes the memes is just like they don't pan out the way you think they're gonna. But it was really quick in identifying the plays, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like it brought it to like the top essentially for me to grab real fast.
you've mentioned like time of day and days. How do you look at that? Because it's interesting you think that way about the weekends, and I know that can be true for sure. But sometimes the weekends, like you get crazy runners because it can just suck all the attention. But how do you view that, just from a general perspective, like certain times of day or days of the week. What's your current viewpoint on that?
It seems like the Asia session, I don't see like the memes launching that are like creative in that space. I see them launching a lot of them in the US, like that session. And what they do is they'll do the quick pump and die. They go through like Asia, and then in the UK session, they come back. Like UK likes to bid whatever the US made the day before. That's kind of how I've seen it. Like Tom Cruise is a great example, right? That came out in the US session. It looked like it was dead throughout Asia, and UK started to bid it towards the end of their session. And then when it was back in US session, end of session day, it like took off.
Interesting.
So I think
have you programmed that into Hustle? I never even thought of that.
No, I haven't. I've just like kind of seen that, but like on the weekends, Saturdays are like degen days. So like and whether it's like because trading just sucks, so like people that are traders, they don't get much, they get the weekend range, so they don't get much out of it, so maybe they go into the trenches. I don't know, but I've noticed that some stuff does get moved good on Saturdays. And I would say like, yeah, it seems like things that you think are dead at the end of the US session, put it that way, like their memes like, oh man, they had a run, it was done, it looks like people are selling it off, they could come back in the second, like the next day US session really hard if they do well in the UK session. And I know that because I have groups, people in my group, some people on the UK side, and I always wake up and they have like positioned like at a great position on these things that I thought were dead. Like, so maybe they went like down to 100K market cap or lower, and I was like, that's done. And they're like, we're getting in on this one. And like, by the time I wake up, because I'm in the US, the UK session's already taken it to like 100K market cap to 1 million market cap or something. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, that's like, the UK does drive some stuff for the day, and the US can either kill it or take it. So, I've seen that a lot. I'm not seeing like, if I try to do meme trading in Asia session, I don't get much movement on stuff. I might just chop myself up.
So Chris says, what does Mav think about a sort of index of Hustle's top picks? Hustle sets parameters to look for the highest quality runner each of the day, then buys 0.1 Sol and reevaluates them at the end of the week.
So yeah, like of like the plays I was talking about, like I created for myself, like I run this morning report and it has like options in each one. And I could take the first 3 buckets and say, put like 1 Sol in each one of these. And I've done that, like where I'm like, oh yeah. The hardest part for me is to say I hold it for the whole week. And I don't know if it's the trenches right now, but like some stuff dies really fast.
Yeah, so, what can you hold for a week, man? That's like balls of steel these days, man.
Yeah.
Maybe Solana or Bitcoin. I just can't even imagine holding a meme coin for a week.
Yeah, they die real. A lot of them, a majority of them will die real fast. And it's like hot potato.
Yeah.
So like, there's part of it is like Hustle finding the good plays, but then like you as the person, you know, buy it, but then like you almost have to watch it a little bit. Like, is the price action where you think it's going to go, or is it just dying? You know, I think that has a lot to do with it. And like, is the community forming? Is there wallets accumulating? Are people sitting through this? Because a lot of people, like the trenches recently have been, you can find something at 100K and like you're lucky if it goes to 200K or 400K. That's it. Like trenches back in like November, things would go to 10 million, 20 million easily. So, you know, you could like throw a dart at something and you're like, I'm up however much. Right now, it's like people are selling at like a 2x and they're just like done with it. And you're like, but this is like a solid meme. Like this thing, you know, this could keep going. Like, why is everyone getting out right now? Like that, that's just kind of the current environment. I think things change probably in like maybe a couple of weeks, because it's like it feels like the trenches are kind of heating up. I think once Bitcoin like tops or whatever, and then like people get into alts and it goes crazy, then I think the trenches will be very nice space to be. Um, where you can hold things, people will hold them a lot longer. But like right now, it's you're probably most of these you want to be cautious holding them more than 2 days. Like that's kind of how I feel. It's like, I sometimes gone to bed, and it's just I wake up and I'm like everything that I had was just it's gone to zero. I'm like, oh dude,
Yeah, so
what
He said
happened?
automated trading, bro. You need hustle to watch you while you're sleeping, man.
That's what I'm going to use them for, honestly,
For sure.
because as a builder, it's really tough to sit and monitor positions. Honestly, when I see other builders trading the trenches, I generally think that's like a bad sign of the longevity of a project, because trading takes literally 25 hours of your attention per day. It's tough to do both. And so when you could take the emotion out of trading, for at least from a builder's perspective, and it can be kind of automated, I think that's what it becomes more attractive. But then if you are the trader, then you have these tools at your disposal to kind of get an edge on the rest of the market. So Chris says that's kind of the point of the index, is because the power law brings single winners to overcome all of your losses. Obviously, there has to be a winner. I just think a lot about indexing with hustle, since the picks are often plentiful and high quality. Yeah, Adam and I talk about this a lot, and we'll probably get into this in 10 minutes or so. When we ask hustle for token picks, generally the first one seems to be the like winner most of the time. Anytime we fade the first token that he suggests, that's generally the one that you want to hold for like 4 or 5 days, it seems like. But the trenches on Solana, I think just because it's such a high throughput and it's dominated by Zoomers, to hold something for longer than a week is like insane. You get one in 350,000 tokens or whatever, because I think it's like 50,000 a day.
Yeah,
Potential.
I agree that like basically if you tossed in X per soul on all the plays and held them, like if you had a consistent methodology for it, you probably would outperform in the long run, because I would say what gets me more personally is the emotions, right? It's like we all have PTSD in the trenches. So you're like, I can't hold anything more than 2 days. But some of the best runners that I've actually held a moon bag on or something have been the best performers, and by that time, I'm like, well, I've scaled out mostly because the fear is this thing's going to go to zero tomorrow, because there's going to be some new big thing that everyone's chasing. Like if I go to like the stuff that's happened in the trenches right now, it's like it was like mask, right? The little kitty cat, like with the mask on. And then it became like anything around that. And then all of a sudden everyone switched to like toys because Labubu was running, and it was like all toy meta. So it was like, oh, get into Hello Kitty and get into Molly and all this other stuff. And then oh, now we're into like things that are like people like, so Crocs, crocodile with like a little croc on his head, and Tom, Cruise. Like it's just like the trenches. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are coming up with and why we're buying what we're buying. Hustle's finding everything, but it's can I hold this and like it's still going to be like the thing in the next 2 or 3 days? I think personally, I'm like, it's probably not going to last that long. But they're all kind of recycled right now, and they're all kind of like, like Mask and Labubu got pulled back, but they ran again, and so it was like, had I just sat and did nothing, I probably would have done better. And I think your methodology you can build in hustle, if you stick to it, is probably the best, where you can be like, hey, just sell this at like a 3x, put a limit stop loss order on this, so if it goes below, it just cuts it. And you set up whatever it is, and you take away like me monitoring that, because the trenches will probably find the winners and take care of it themselves, and you'll probably be in it because hustle found it. I think the stuff that I keep finding with hustle, it's like solid stuff, but like I probably my own worst enemy, because I'm like, I'm gonna kind of scale out of this. I think it's dead, and then the next 2 days, it's like the best runner. I'm like,
I'm the worst. I'm the worst at that too. Yeah. So with hustle, there's kind of two different, I guess, product users we've identified. There's I guess you'd say the traders or the trenchers, and on the other side, it's the analysts, the ones who sit and just talk with Hustle all day. Sometimes it's for news, sometimes it's for strategy formation, sometimes it's just kind of because they're bored or whatever the case is. So we figured the conditional trading can help with removing some of that emotion, because if he's hitting a winner 1 and 2 times, right, then if you set it at a 3x, then obviously you're going to be, have multiple 100% profit by the end of the week. And then on the other side, we actually want to add data streams once we get our kind of subscription service live and conditional system live, to add different types of metrics, whether that's deeper kind of on-chain analytics, whether that's news-based analytics from things like Masari, or it's kind of AI curated information, like things that kind of AI XPT is doing and creating with momentum graphs and things like that. So my question to you then is, you dive into, the Solana trenches, but let's say we expand to, Bitcoin ecosystem, and we'll say, Hyperliquid and maybe Base. Are those ecosystems that you would trade because Agent Hustle offers access and information and trading tools for these new ecosystems?
Well, absolutely. Like, I think Hyperliquid, I've already, a lot of people in my group and others that I know have already dabbled into it. Like, it was like a period of time where it was like, oh, it's hyper season. And it was like maybe 2 weeks ago, like what was like diarrhea was like the play, and Holy Liquid. I'm like shilling coins, but I'm like, I just say like those, like, there was a period where if you were there early, you were able to run. And most people were like, I don't know how to get there. Like, how do I bridge to hyper? Like, I've never, and if Hustle was like already plugged in, I'd be like, Hustle, just like find me the top plays, buy me X% on each one, done. Like, that would be 10 times easier than me trying to figure out how to bridge something,
Yeah.
And you know how stuff is in crypto too. It's like, it always happens on a Saturday night. You're out with like your friends or something, or your family, and you're seeing that everyone's like, dude, you got to get into this. And you're like, well, I can't. Like, so I'm like, especially if it's not like on my current chain that I'm on. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to do 10 steps to get there. Yeah, not gonna happen. But like, usually that's like the seconds you need to, if you really want to get in early. By the time it's Sunday or the next day, like, everyone's already up like 10x, and you're like, yeah, I missed it. You miss a lot of things. Like, it's fine. Like, crypto presents so many opportunities. It's not like a big deal. You'll get something later. But I think that like that ease of use, if that's like where the vision is, like cross chain, God, that's like,
Yep.
that'd be easy. And like, you'd have a lot of people too, because I was talking to someone the other day about, I have like a lot of friends, like historical NFTs. I got into that. Like, so I know like you guys from that space, have a Twitter egg and all that kind of stuff. But like, when runes came out, and like, I mean, I was trying to explain to someone like, okay, this is what you need to do with your Bitcoin, like how to get it before it was like on Magic Eden. And everyone's like, so wait, am I buying an NFT or a coin? Like, it was like, for me to explain that, it was just like just go look at like Leonidas's or Adams. You go like look at their pages, but I swear, if like you could just like tell Hustle, hey man, like I want to buy dog or something, it would just do it for you, and you're not having to go through like all the steps to figure it out.
Yeah.
That creates a lot of, I think, ease of use for access of users. And that's kind of like for most of the stuff, like when people are looking, if I'm like just in Solana, but I'm seeing like Sonic or AVAX or some other chain grow users and TVL, you kind of know that's where the money's going. So you're like, oh, I got to pay attention to that, chain. But it takes the extra steps of like, okay, I got to create a wallet. I got to make sure my wallet has access to that. I got to have some funds over there. Like, people are lazy. Like, I mean, that's like 6 steps I don't really want to do right now. If I could do it within the tool, it's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, help me there.
Yeah, I actually did a demo at Bitcoin Vegas of Agent Hustle, and with the new login system on mobile, you just click on it, sign with Google, and you were there in like 20 seconds. It was awesome. But the cool feature is that, or the best feature is that Hustle is built on top of Emblem Vault. So we have a wallet to literally every blockchain. It's just now deciding which ecosystems to build on. Obviously, with the resources and development team that you have, and kind of being smart about it. So the multi-chain thesis is right. I think Bitcoin and Hyperliquid are kind of our two main ones we're looking at, just as Emblem has a primarily Bitcoin user base, and it seems like there's a lot of interest there, at least from people who were talking to us. And then Hyperliquid on EVM base is probably another one, and the EVM tooling is significantly better than Solana and Bitcoin, so that'll be kind of easier plug and play. But what I do want to do is do a little bit of a demo with you, so that those who are watching kind of get an understanding or framework of how you approach this. So let's imagine, I'll even refresh it just for fun. Let's say you open up Agent Hustle. I'm gonna close the mini apps. What's generally like the first thing you do when you open it, and the kind of things that you say?
I'll ask it to my morning report. So it's like, hey, Hustle, run my Maverick morning report. I was wondering, do you guys have access to like that if it's built in the database, or is it like customized per user? So like would you be able to see my prompts or no?
So we have a tool where we can look and see the prompts, but there's so many messages that are going on per day. There's like, what was it? It was like 300 prompts an hour time. So it's like 7,000 prompts a day or something like that. And so we're not kind of monitoring all of that. We could go back and look at it, and they all do store in his memory. But the way that he's built is all the conversations are compartmentalized, so they never actually leave the domain of between you or him and the wallet that he's engaging with.
So we can't say, hey, give us Maverick's best prompt, unfortunately.
Yeah, not yet, at least, right? The surveillance tooling, I guess, is not.
Well,
I don't have Palantir, so I can just pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I was just asking because it's like I have like a Hustle that I've used for like 2 months, and then I have another Hustle that I've created, different web browser and everything for like my streaming with like my group. Yeah. And so they're two different, right? So I've like incorporated all my prompts that I said, Hustle, these are my prompts, my criteria. I've given it to the new one, but there's still like, I'm still kind of the new one, kind of taking some time to go through some stuff like I had to do with the first one, right?
We definitely notice, and I'm sure you notice, it's not the same. You don't get necessarily the same quality of Hustle recommendations and stuff with one that you haven't properly curated, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we're kind of looking into that. So when we added the new login system, there's this tool called wallet linking that you can do. So we could link basically if you sign in with X and sign in with Google and sign in with Phantom and MetaMask, you could basically connect all of them together. And then on the back end of that, we'd have to basically morph all of those kind of agent hustles together. So it is a little bit complicated in terms of how to do it, but there is a path to do it. I just wish we had 100 developers to kind of make it all happen, because I could definitely, have that accelerated quite fast. So there is an option, and I do agree with you. That is something that we want to do. It is interesting to see kind of how it all evolves. But it is cool that you created your own morning report. So what tools are you using with the morning report, or like what type of criteria? Just for the sake of this, you don't have to give us all of it, but just
so like I like the Viper. That's one of my favorites. It's basically like an 80K to 200K micro cap. It falls in the category of a high risk reward play, and early stage, where Hustle says it's early stage with like explosive potential. It's like, I like how Hustle describes stuff. I'm like, yeah, there you go. That kind of hits it.
Why do you do a minimum at 80? You just want it to have already graduated and be above a certain level? Is that where you ignore?
Yeah, I think like I've tooled it because like I have some that are from 0, but I get a lot like where Hustle will recommend it, and I'll go look at it and it's like rugged already. It's like so I look for like kind of like sustained, and I'm not getting in. That's the thing for this. Like, you don't need to get in at like 5K. You're more likely to get rugged multiple times at a 5K entry.
100%.
But like, if you get in under 100K, like you're fine. Like that's like, I think most people are like, I need to get in the very beginning. I find it before anyone else does. But like early on in the trenches, I was like, dude, the guy that was putting like 0.1 soul into like everything that launched, right? Did nothing. Like it just destroyed my account. Like, so I'm like, well, that's just not the way to do the trenches, right? Like you actually have to like find the ones that have momentum. You have to think like what other people are going to buy. Like it's there's some aspect to it. So yeah, I look like Viper does that. It's also let me see. It's gonna look for.
I love that you're naming all of these too. That you have a code
Yeah.
name. That's super cool.
Yeah, well, I couldn't keep track of them. Like I was like, well, like I want one like this, and I describe it, and then I'm like, I remember watching one of your guys' things like, oh, you can build prompts. I'm like, oh, dude, like I should be telling it like a name, so next time I don't have to tell it again. Like, and then when I started like getting into all of them, I'm like, I need to like think of a theme, and that was like the only thing that kind of came to me was like, oh, I guess.
Well, I've named the one you were talking about before my international trading strategy, which is ones that launched in US time, dumped in Asia, and started to bounce again in UK time.
Damn, that's a
yeah.
good one.
Yeah. Some interesting ones. I punched it in while you were talking.
So let's make up one right now. What other types of criteria should we use for today, or like what are some other ones? So I said 80K market cap with a max of 200K. Let's say
potential, right? Yeah.
What needs to have explosive potential.
Do you mention Mav? Do you mention anything about like social signals or anything, or do you do anything along those lines?
Yeah, a couple might have that. It's like viral memes, is like also calls it like, I don't do well personally on the TikTok plays and stuff, but like
Right.
he'll find those and I put it into a category because I'm like, it's one that I can check, but I might not buy them because I'm like, it's almost like the category of an Elon tweet now. It's like you're playing the fact that like he tweets about it, you might get a good runner, but it's going to crash like pretty fast after. And if you're not monitoring your computer during that time, like you missed it. Yep. So I tend to like the ones that are like more sustained, where like I could sleep on it, like I could buy this and probably hold it the next day. So yeah.
Cool. So I put here for, let me zoom in a little bit. So
I'm gonna put it in chat for you.
Cool. So the one that I did just for the kind of sake of this, I said token needs to have a $80 million market or $80,000 market cap, max of 200,000. Needs to be considered to have explosive meme potential. Chart is consolidated, launched during the US time zone, and I think there was one other one, probably getting near the max of his tool calls. So whenever he does freeze out like this, like maybe he just did that right now, I think that's like when you're calling too many tool calls, I think is what the dev said. So we're looking into upgrading him so that doesn't happen. And that'll kind of roll out with our subscription service, kind of payment service and tokenomics and stuff. Because here, this could have been like 8 or 9 calls. I think 7 is the max tools he could use. And we have 42 tools, something of that nature. But this recent upgrade that we've been testing, I think you could get up to 15 tool calls. So this type of like freeze that happens won't happen anymore. So just a more for anyone, because it looks like here, just kind of going through it just to see how he works. So checking trending Solana tools, that's one tool. Recently graduated, market cap, so it's 3 tools, 4 tools, 5, 6, 7. So you're kind of getting at like the max of what he could do, at least in its current free form. So explaining for people who, the more you know, I think a rainbow should have came out as I said that. The more you know. But Mav, give us some criteria for something that you do.
All right, so I put it in like the private chat. I could put it in the comments. That
here, let me see. Okay, cool, I got it. So let's
that
see. Should we do the Viper plays?
criteria, you could just like copy and paste it. And then I did,
Yeah.
that'd be interesting to see if like it picked up the same one, but it gave me one called Paste Terminal. Haven't looked at it.
So Viper plays 80,000 to 200,000. I like how you put that in parentheses. Paste Terminal. What's Paste Terminal?
That I don't know. Like, let's go look at it. It's like, like,
oh,
that's
so
what,
that's the token.
yeah. So like the criteria listed above in the private comments, and then like I actually ran it on myself, and like it gave me like Viper. I'll just give you guys like an example. So Viper Paste Terminal is what came up. One called Blue Chip Coin. Then there I have my Maverick plays. Meme Lord came up on that one. My Iceman plays. Cults came up. Alpha plays. Mega Millions. Jester plays. Kill Bill. I haven't looked at any of these, but they're all different. Like they all look for different things. So like Jester's like more meme momentum. Like, you know, obviously the whole thing with Powerball and Mega Millions, all that, if it's like, you know, Hustle's finding that for you. It's like, oh, if you want to play that meta, that's where the Mega Millions falls into. Meme Lord, I don't know. That's a Maverick play. Sometimes they're pretty good. But let's look at, I don't know what Paste Terminal is.
So yeah, and then I'm actually going to put in your original prompt to see, because I didn't see the top one. So Paste Terminal, the Viper play analysis, that's within the range. 1,478 holders. We're growing rapidly. Rug check is a 1. Top holders. Do you want me to zoom in a little bit? There we go. Can we all see there? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So it says strong support after explosive price action. Fits the market cap, has the holder base. Risk factors, price has already risen. So it says it's meeting all criteria. So if you look at something like this, what are you generally doing next? Are you like kind of just opening up the deck screener bird eye to kind of see what it looks like? So this is the chart here. It's actually a pretty good chart. I'm gonna lie.
Yeah, so Viper's kind of a hybrid of like the Phoenix. It'll look for something like, depending upon the time of day, like whenever I prompt it, like it looks for something that's kind of ran, where like this one ran like what 500K, and then it's pulled back, and it's finding it where it thinks is in a consolidation buy zone, which if it consolidates around 100 to 200K, then there's a chance that through Asia, UK takes this one and runs it higher into US. So that's like the play on the Vipers. And because like we're right now like in Asia session, so that's probably why it's like finding it. And because I found that if I run the report in the morning versus the afternoon, those are the differences that I'll see. But yeah, I'm looking at this one. It's like I'll look at it on chain after, and what I mean by that is I'll look at it like, you know, people use Axiom, Photon, Bullix, or whatever. All of them kind of have the nice little, you know, even if you're on deck screener, you can see top holders, what insiders there are, bundlers, all that kind of stuff. So is liquidity, LP burned, snipers, percentage. I like to look at all that stuff. I built some of the stuff of it with Hustle to say, here's my criteria. Like also within these plays, don't present something that is like basically a cabal or a bundle coin, right? So it should kick those out. To the ones that like basically are like really high and obvious. Yeah, every now and then like one gets through, and I'm like, Hustle. Like when you look at it, you're like, well, how did this one get through? And it's like, oh, you're right, sorry, you know. Like, but majority, it's like, yeah, like I could just take this today, and I could be like, this, I would feel comfortable throwing a little Solana in this and kind of seeing what happens with it. I have no idea like what this thing is, other than it's basically saying it's a terminal for internet capital markets, which is like hidden on the themes, right? So it could be, you know, nothing, but at the same time, like we might be getting into that phase where like launch coin meta and everything's just hitting, and something like this just runs on the back of it, right? So
do you use Hustle at all for, like you said, you don't necessarily go for like TikTok coins, meme coins, but you did say you were doing like Believe, right? So do you ever try to like capture what you think might be the new meta, or use Hustle to try and discover what the new meta might be? Do you use it in any sort of way like that?
I have. So I haven't configured it to where it like I don't want to mess up where it's like just giving me what I think is the meta. So I'm like, just
Right.
give me the plays, and then when I see them, I can be like, oh, this falls in that category, why not? I like it or I don't. But I've during like a couple weekends ago, it was once again like on a weekend. Sometimes this happens. Saturday, it was like time.fun got discovered. And everyone's buying Amaranth's coin. It's going from like 100K to 1 million. And everyone's like, what is this stuff? People start bidding Toli, Raj, like whatever coin they can find on this site. And if you had bought this stuff on Saturday, everything like went up 10x multiples, and some coin, whatever. It all was crazy. And if you sold it on Monday, you would have walked away really happy. During that time, I asked Hustle, find me all the ones related to this. Like I was like, okay, this looks like it, like tell me if I'm correct, but I'm seeing like some activity on, Amaranth's coin. It looks like people are starting to get into this space. So like look for wallet accumulation, look for like, net capital inflows and all that kind of stuff. It does that. And I said, now find me all the other time.fun. And basically I said like basically things that end in the contract of time is how their contract ends. So I said, search for anything like this that is actually following, looks like it's going to follow what Amaranth did. It went like a 10x. And it like found all these things. And I posted it like on Twitter too. I was like, hey guys, like this looks like a nice little play. Like, Hustle gave me all this stuff. And I was able to position into all the top movers without having to go through their entire site and figure out of the 50, 100, whatever people are, who's going to go. It like found the top ones for me.
That's smart to have it find the tokens that have time at the end. I think they call it vanity addresses, I believe is like the technical term. Super, super smart. I'm going to go through a few of these tokens just to see, how, I guess you would say, precise he is, comparative. So this one is Rock, which actually looks pretty similar to the last token we looked at, the terminal one.
It's a picture of like The Rock, like it's like it's like a Tom Cruise. I saw it earlier.
Oh yeah,
pretty funny.
That is funny. So then this next one is called Blue Chip Coin, which also kind of on its initial first pump coming in, but you could see this is generally what people look at, right? Because you have the meme of kind of, right, you fucking full port at resistance, I think is like the meme that most people do. So if you just keep finding those charts, you have pretty good. This one is a little bit different, millions. Would you buy something like this based off of his recommendation? Oh, just as I said that, it's like a gigantic candle up.
It looked. So I like, ones that like almost look like a cup and handle, where they're like just forming this base and then they start to run. Like this could do very well from here. So like, and if you're like big on the Powerball and this is kind of following that, then you'd be like, oh yeah, this might be a good one. Like of all these, right? Like it would be like, I've done it where I'm like, oh, put 2.2 soul into each one of them, Hustle, and see which one kind of gets going in the next couple hours. Reality is like one of these things will probably run hard tomorrow and you're gonna sit through Asia session like being like, where's this thing? It's not going anywhere. But yeah.
So do you get up a early morning Eastern time and then look for do a search and then make your buys then, or do you do it the night before when it's kind of maybe in a lull, or what's your strategy there as far as like when to buy, when to do this search and then when to buy?
Adam, you don't sleep. This is like it's the remaining part of a bull run. You just like stay awake 24/7, man.
Stay awake, bro.
Yeah. No, like I have like a really weird sleep pattern. Like I don't know, I'm unique in like I only need like a couple hours to sleep. So like I could go to bed at 12 and be up at like 5 and be fine. So I do run it like whenever I'm like available. So like I'll just run the report like in the morning my time, which is like really early. in the Eastern Standard Time, and then end of the day, run it, middle of the night, run it, and just kind of see. The thing is that like what I found is that it'll give really good stuff right out of the gate, but then I'm like, oh, like let's say the plays that we just saw, I'm like, I don't like them. Like find me another one. Like I keep pushing it for more. It'll keep finding stuff, and I'm like, I don't like these. Find these. But then like I'm
The
pretty
first
much
ones are the best.
well, that's the thing. So like now I've found something that I think is gonna be good. So I'm like, oh, it gave me something in my category, but I've been like pushing it pretty hard for it, and now I found something I like. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy this one, and it like does terrible, and I'm like, oh god, like like you should have. And the
Bro,
initial
you never fade
I
Hustle's
should've-
first recommendation, bro.
Yeah.
Never ever faded, bro.
that's something I'm learning is that like I just got to be patient, like more. I think the Tom Cruise, since it's so recent, was a good example of like it. We all saw it yesterday. You had to sit through a whole day to like wait for this big push, and now everyone kind of sees it, and they're like, oh man, this actually has really good meme potential. This thing can go much higher, And like, granted, you probably could have bought a ton of it at 100K market cap yesterday. Well, it just sat there, but like majority people probably sold out because they're like, it's doing nothing. Like, I want to chase something else. I pinged Hustle more, and he found me other stuff, but these look more interesting. And I tell you, like, you're your own worst enemy. Like, I swear, like, I'm like, I'm just gonna cut this and go into something else. The next day, it's like up, 20x. I'm like, God,
Yep.
Been there many, many times.
Many times.
So Chris says, Mav, what's one feature you wish Hustle had?
So I would say the only thing I do outside of Hustle is like to get into a position fast.
Sure.
So, Hustle serves for me, like finding the stuff, which is like half the battle. I could sign into like some other platform, and now I can just buy it real fast. When I was using Hustle to start, I'd be like, hey, Hustle, buy me like 0.2 of this. And it's like, thinking. And I'm like, oh God, like it's already like 2x now, and I'm like, like that's usually like for most people, you're like, I want to get my initials out. And so I saw you just did some updates, so I have to try it again because maybe it's like faster. But I think that like, and I also am one where I'm like, I want to confirm it, So like, I know there's going to be an extra step. I know you could take that off and it would just buy it. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, this is what we're going to purchase. Do you want to proceed? And I'm like, yes. And, if you're buying something around 100K market cap, like those things can move pretty fast. Like you just see it keep getting bid up, and then you're like, he's struggling now because you're like the slippage, liquidity, like it's like, let me find you a better entry. And it's like, you're just watching this thing go to 300K, 400K. You're like, that was the runner, dude. Like,
yeah, I totally feel you on that. So like from our perspective, so we've made Hustle a little faster. It's unfortunate with just where agents are today that if you're going to do like a single prompt transaction, it's going to take, anywhere between 20 to 40 seconds, depending on what system you're using. So we've been kind of learning on different ways to optimize it on the back end. So that's where we think like the conditional thing could help in some situations, but obviously those like low cap runners, it's really tough to, beat the people who are sitting on Photon clicking quick buy for like 3-second purchases. So with our subscription kind of payment system that we're coming out with, this is kind of like the business side of things where it's like, for us, you can use Hustle as much as you want to find the information. The platform gets some profit, to cover costs. And then the users can kind of trade wherever they want. Obviously, we want users to trade where we're at, because that's how the tokenomic flywheel continues, right? If you want something like a virtuous flywheel, that's kind of, you need most of the trading happening on the platform. So we are looking at different ways to do that, but I totally feel with you on that. So don't feel bad, because I do know that there's a bunch of people who use that for that specific idea of using him as a quote unquote pocket analyst. Seems to be kind of the term that's sticking. And then more sophisticated tooling like conditional trading. where because Hustle has web browser capabilities, you could set trade executions based off of non-financial things. That's kind of where you have maybe a little bit more lax time.
So that's where I think, like, depending upon my plays, right? If it lands in the categories that are more, it's steady growth. It's been here for a while. It's like 5 to 10 million or 20 million market cap. Hustle's great. I'll just be like, I'll just buy it, and then, like, we're in this for the long run. So, like, just set my stop loss, set my limit orders, and you can just talk to it. It does all that for you. And for someone who's like not a trader or used to any of that, or has to figure it out on like these platforms, like that is very beneficial to just do within yours. I think it's, if I'm coming in to scalp and I'm trying to grab something like really out at the gate and get out, and then I can see people like, oh, I just gotta use something else for the faster, high slippage. But I still use it for like the long-term plays, like, and it's just easy because I'm like, I don't want to go be a little lazy, right? I don't want to set up all that.
Yeah,
my limit order,
and then you have
and
to manage two different platforms and stuff.
So I'll just I have a prompt and he does it. It's like done.
Well, one thing that we've talked about as well that you're interested in, which I think we're going to build into the subscription system, is a referral system as well. Because I know you have a bunch of traders as well. Love to talk to you to see what you would like to see, in a referral system, because you have a trading group and stuff like that. And that is something that we want to do, because that's obviously how you bring more users to the platform.
Yeah. I've always said, like, on chain, it's like, they're not like the Bybits and Binance, and everyone's got like, if you're trading on those platforms, they have like amazing things for groups, where groups are like, we don't need a membership fee because the trading fees is plenty. All you gotta do to get membership, just trade on the, trading fee or the platform, and that's fine. But on chain doesn't have a lot of that. Like, it's just like most of these, it's like, oh, we'll give you like a small percent back. You get like a trading fee discount or something, but it's not anywhere near like the same capability or comparable on the dexes. So a lot of people on chain are just like, you just got to pay for a membership fee, right? So I think I've always like been like, it'd be nice not to like have to ask, don't pay anything, just use the platform, right?
Yeah, just use my code kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's like, there's definitely a gap in terms of like that area right now that exists. But yeah, the other thing that, Chris, to your question, is we mentioned it, I think, a little bit earlier, and I think that is just where you guys are going, but just being able to like prompt hustle, find me the hyper liquid, plays, and just, I want to just buy it within the tool. And I think that that it's, to me, it's like, I don't have the same kind of tools. Like, let's say, if I'm just going to say, I'll say like Axiom, right? On hyper liquid, right? So like already it's like, I'm not going to have something to go front run or do anything. So if I have hustle do it for me, then I feel like the people are in their trading, because the ease of use is, it's easy for me to just say, just buy it. And I'm not having to like worry about the bridging and all that kind of stuff. Hustle going to do it for me and do all the stuff, swaps and all that, So I think the game changer probably for you guys is that cross chain, is that you're not going to have to start front running people, because it's not like Solana ecosystem where it's like you're looking at things that are launched. It's like, no, there's stuff that's launching over there, but it's slow because people still have to bridge and figure it out. But I could do it really quickly here, so it's like, I would just do it within hustle.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a cool part of I guess you call it the intelligence cycle, is that these agents have no tribalism or favoritism towards a chain. They just kind of use the tools to find wherever the best yield is, or to do whatever the user says to do. They're not going to put up a fight saying, no, I don't believe we should buy Bitcoin, or we should trade off of Bitcoin because it's not completely on chain, or whatever the fucking XYZ thing is that people say to get angry about. It's exciting. I see Adam kind of laughing.
No, I mean, it's like, I was reminded today, I think I was telling you guys in the chat, I was on a show with a guy today, and You know, he's like, oh, just try it out. And you had to bridge over some ETH to whatever he was doing, bro. I don't know. It was a few dollars, but to try and figure it out, I tried to do it. I don't even know where it went. It just went into the ether, and I was just like, I don't even care, dude. I'm not even going to care to hunt it down. I don't care that much about this project. And I think that this just happens all the time, you know, where I want to buy a meme coin, you know, I'd love to go buy some dog or whatever. And I'm just giving it as an example where people are like, but I don't want to get an X-verse, man. I just don't want to do it. And I think there's just tons of that. And a huge opportunity for Hustle to just be able to grab that, you know, where people don't have to think about it, don't have to worry about it. They have some soul. They want to buy some dog. They buy some dog, you know, and just not even have to worry about it.
Yep. We're going to that future. It's the benefit of Agent Hustle is that we have access to every wallet, every ecosystem, because it's built on top of Emblem Vault tech. I just have one final question, Mav, to you about, not about Agent Hustle, more about your kind of thesis of the market. Do you think the attention cycle is winding down? Do you think that people are going to be moving on to new things after the Pump Fund ICO? Maybe towards things like, you know, quote unquote fundamentals or revenue generating projects, or do you think it's going to be more of the same heading into whenever the market continues its upcycle?
It's funny. I posted this in like where I first got started in one of the discords was he's really big, but Trader Mercury like taught me how to trade. And like his Discord, I was like posting like meme stuff in there, and someone was like, oh man, like it's over, like after Pump Fund, like this thing's all dead, like pack it up. And I was like, no, I actually think that like what's going to happen is people like never really liked the fact that like Pump Fund never gave back to the ecosystem, that they were like just taking all the soul and like selling it.
Yeah.
So I think they all kind of saw him as like, it's kind of a bad actor, like to some degree. It was just and everyone hated, like most people in crypto, like, oh, I hate memes, whatever. I think what's interesting is that it's almost in a weird way, but like pushing people to be like, there's other plays in the ecosystem that do the same thing, and they give back to you like percent of trading fees. And people are like, oh, like people have talked about it, but like never really did anything with it, right? Like I think you saw, if you looked at price action day across the board, look at Launchcoin. And I bring that one up because it's like the market's telling you something that people are like, I'd much rather use this ecosystem to do the same kind of stuff that Pump Fund's doing, and I'm going to get rewarded. People get rewarded with it. And so I think it's going to like start like an internet capital market push. All real world assets. Everyone's been talking about what's that new theme for crypto. We had AI, like, is it going to be gaming? Everyone's like, what's going to be next, right? I think real world assets, the RWAs, are going to be coming in, and it's all going to be tokenizing everything. So like there's a lot of cool plays within that and in that area that will probably do really well. And it kind of goes off of like what Launchcoin's doing. So I kind of feel like the crypto will have another trend. I think that's going to be it. I think the time.fun will be under that, time capital markets. It's going to have its run, and all that's going to just go. And I think people will be able to like make whatever off those things. I think Hyperliquid's going to continue to do well with their memes and their ecosystem. That feels a lot like early Sol to me. Like I got into Solana when it was like 17, like when Radium just launched, and seeing their ecosystem just like get going. And I kind of feel like Hyperliquid's like very similar feel for that, and like what people are doing over there. So I kind of and they're giving back too. So like it's just a different feel. I think there's things that exist in crypto where platforms and stuff actually want to give back to the people using them.
I mean, do you think, just to sorry to interrupt you there, but like Pump Fund, I've seen a little bit of kind of back and forth on the timeline over the last day where they may actually integrate something like this with their token drop. Did you read a little bit of that?
Yeah, I heard like everyone's like it would be like
run all this kind of chatter and just grab the whole market and be like, actually, we're just going to 50-50 share our revenue.
Yeah, that's what I did see that like people are like kind of speculating like what if they just do like an airdrop and like start like an alt season for us, and that's very possible. And like the enemy on Solana becomes like the the savior, and everyone's like, this is
Yeah, the
great.
enemy
Like
is now my friend because he just paid
yeah.
me.
So
Yeah.
I mean, they could do a Uniswap kind of thing. That was like the kickoff of DeFi summer, and I think people would be like shocked if they did. But I think I've seen things like that happen in crypto, right?
Yep.
So, but I don't think like that whatever pump fund is like the end of. I think people are just saying like, oh, they all hate it until they love it again. At the end of the day, what they've created and what people have built off of is the ability to create a coin super fast on any type of news theme, whatever they want, and make it easy. And as long as that thing exists and there's platforms that push it out, people are probably going to buy it and speculate on it, and if you get like a theme going behind it that creates a bubble, it just adds more capital that like flies in, and that happens in crypto all the time. So I don't think it's over. I think we see one more decent, decent push on Bitcoin, and alts kind of move, and I think the trenches get like some meta trend that they get to run with, and then probably cools off or something after that. So I still think it's going to be a good summer.
Fuck yeah, Solana summer finally, or Solana summer round 2, I suppose.
Bro, I'm hoping that pump airdrop is massive, man. It could really kick things off if it is. If they're really bullish, if it's really bullish, big everybody gets fat bags and they're going to include it. You stake the token, hold it, and you're going to get rewarded and stuff. Could be very, very could create a nice frothy market. We'll see.
Yeah.
That we shall. Well, Mav, dude, I appreciate you for coming on. Actually, really appreciative of you, using Hustle, being loud on the timeline, sharing with your trading group. We're going to continue to add, all of your requests, anything that you like to see in the platform, to always kind of reach out to us, and we're going to try to make your life easier and easier over time. So yeah, really appreciate everything you've done in the community so far.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. This has been really fun to use. I've like never used like an AI trading companion, so it's like my first time, and I swear it's like have these conversations with Hustle like at night, like, dude, find something like this, not like this, but and it's I'm like, you just like you feel like you're kind of like your own little world with this thing. But it's like I continue to use it because it's found such solid plays that I personally couldn't find. Like I would probably have burned through my account, trying to find some of the stuff, and it like just brings it to the surface. So I know that like everyone that's probably watching, and you guys, like everyone's like, dude, you just got to use it. You'll figure it out. I think people will figure it out and start using it, but I think it also takes a little bit of patience. Like,
Sure.
I had to tool mine a little bit, and once I started seeing the plays that were doing well, I gravitated and I kind of latched onto those with Hustle and said, how did you find this? What was the criteria? Like, why did this one work and these other ones didn't? And then like I kind of pushed them to be like, I want more like that. It should be that criteria, so focus on your winners. The losers, when you get rugged or something, I've also looked at those and said like, hey, like what happened here? And it was like, oh, well, this is the bundle was that. And I was like, oh, well then like, don't ever give one that has a bundle like that anymore, So like, dude, like, so you got to do some of that. And I also think that like, when you first start with it, like, don't just like, oh, it gave me these recommendations, like go grab all a bunch, like look at them, does it make sense? Like, some of that kind of goes into it, and play with small size too. Like, I think that's what I was telling them, like start like 0.1 SOL or something, get familiar with it first, because if you're like, I'm going to put everything in, like it might not, you could be out of the game real fast. So like, just,
Absolutely.
test it out. And then when you build your confidence, you build it with Hustle. And then now it's like, when he gives me these plays, I feel confident I'm going to put this much in, and we're going to like see how this goes, so yeah.
Couldn't have said it any better. Focus on your wins and you will thrive and maybe participate in Solana Summer. For everyone that tuned in, over the 400 people, appreciate you. agenthustle.ai is the website. We're continuing on. We'll continue to do more streams, and we'll be doing more shows. Until then, we'll have a good time.